Hey guys, here we are for Chapter 10, Lesson 3, Managing and Sustaining Grasslands. This will be a brief one, always nice. We're going to talk about some methods to sustain the productivity of the grasslands. Basically, if we can control the numbers and the distribution of the grazing livestock, where they are, etc., and we can work to restore the degraded grasslands, these are really the two big things that we're looking at when it comes to managing and sustaining them. When we talk about grasslands, we've got grasslands, and then also where we go into where we talk about rangelands. Rangelands are the less productive grasslands, if you will. Might be hilly, just a little dry or something. But rangelands are where we tend to just let animals feed and graze because there's not a lot more use for the land. It's not good for farming, so we haven't turned it into farmland. But in the rangelands, they still can get overgrazed. They get overgrazed, we get desertification. So unfenced grazelands that tend to be in the tropical and temperate climates, these supply foraging for animals, whether it's livestock or just wild animals as well, especially when you think of somewhere like Africa, the grazing and browsing animals, elephants, giraffes. But even here in America, we have many grazing animals, whether it's deer, rabbit, anything that's an herbivore is going to depend on grasses, etc. for food. So we have rangelands and pastures. Rangelands are those areas that are kind of out in the wild, if you will, and pastures are usually managed and maintained. This is where somebody owns this land. They put their cow, their cattle, their sheep, goats, what have you, out on it. And these tend to be fenced in meadows that we use for grazing livestock. And a lot of times we're specifically planting things like clover or alfalfa on there, specifically for these animals to feed. Once again, many of our rangelands are actually being overgrazed. Now, if it is being moderately grazed, then it is healthy for the environment. Grass actually grows from the base up. So if something's eating the top of the grass, well, it keeps growing from the base. And most of us in America know this. If you have a lawn, we cut the grass with our mower and it keeps growing up. So as long as something is coming along and grazing moderately, it tends to be good. It spurs on rapid growth. So things are grazing in and it spurs quick growth to it. However, overgrazing reduces the grass cover. This is when I have too many cows out there, too many sheep, too many goats, whatever it may be, too many buffalo, too many elephant, whatever it is that's actually eating the grass. If there's too much of it, then they reduce the grass cover because they'll eat it down to the root if there's nothing left. They'll eat the nice green, soft stuff at the top is what they like, but if they're hungry, they'll eat everything. Then they wind up compacting the soil by stepping onto it, and this lessens the soil's ability to hold water. The harder packed in the dirt, well, the water sits on top and runs off instead of sinking down in. So it's this kind of double or triple whammy, if you will. They eat the grass, but if they eat it all the way down, there's no grass, then the animals are stomping it, flattening it down, squishing it in, things can't grow as well, and then water won't seep into it as well. When the grasses are eliminated, we should know lack of vegetation tends to cause higher levels of soil erosion, either by wind or water, with water being king when it comes to erosion. And this promotes also the invasion of invasive plant species or the invasion of plant species that are undesirable. If cows won't eat it, like mesquite or sage, other things, then they avoid it and they eat the other grass, and these things begin to take over the area. So we want to bring our cattle in to graze, but there's nothing that the cows will actually eat, and it encourages these invasive species and they take over an entire region. If we are overgrazing, if we just put too many cattle out on the area, we're all taking advantage of this common land, we're back to the tragedy of the commons and we get overgrazing, degradation of the land. The picture that we have up here kind of shows that. You see the fence line running through there. Well, to one side of it, we see plant life and grass. Yeah, it's a sandy area. This is rangeland. It's not good for farming or crops, but it's still a grassland. Grasses grow. But on the other side of the fence, it's been overgrazed, and it's beginning to look much more just like classic desert. So we have to be really careful in these rangeland that they still have to be managed and sustained, or we lose their sustainability. How do we do that? Rotational grazing is a classic one. Farmers, when they own their own fields, they do this all the time. A friend of mine has a cattle farm. Well, he just has a few cows and he can let them go wherever. Another acquaintance, I kind of hate to just say friend, but another acquaintance of mine owns a true cattle farm, 3,000 head of cattle. And he maintains 6 fields and he rotates them. He puts them out on these 4 fields while nothing's on these 2 fields. And then he'll move them across to this field and that. And he keeps rotating the cattle around to make sure that they're not eating all of the food. So he carefully maintains it. We need to do this in our rangelands as well. Move the cattle around. Fence areas of it off and agree. Nobody can be out on this for a month or how long it's going to take for the grass to grow back healthy. So fencing off damaged areas so nothing can go in and allowing secondary succession to do its thing. Rain and the plants will come back if we just leave it alone. We need to try and use some holistic herd management. And a lot of this is just education. We have to teach the people the techniques for how to do it. If we have this holistic herd management, well, short-term trampling can actually be a good thing. If we walk the cattle over where the plants are that they don't want to eat, they can trample them down. It shoves them down into the ground, so it's giving fertilizer to the ground. A minor amount of short-term trampling can actually aerate the soil, allowing the rain to get in. Long-term trampling is what packs it down. Coming through one, we get the little hoof prints. We keep doing it over and over, the hoof prints all pack it all the way down. So if we allow the trampling in certain areas where we have plants we don't want, which will allow other plants to come in, and it's done properly, it can actually aerate and stimulate the growth and increase the nutrient recycling. One of those 6 principles, the cycling of nutrients, helping the soil become more fertile, and this is what we're after. But a lot of times it's just education and proper use of the cows, the sheep, the goats, whatever it might be. Up here, the picture we're looking at is showing overgrazing of an area. Now, cows will naturally go graze around ponds, lakes, rivers, watering holes. That way they get water and there tends to be growth that they like there. So here along this riverbed, they have overgrazed, and once again, we're getting this desertification. No plant life, we get more soil erosion, washes down in the river and on out to the sea. However, when it was left alone for a period of time, it was roped off, nobody could take their cattle out to graze there. Secondary succession, once again, we're right along a river bank, access to water, the plants come back and it's healthy again. So a lot of times simply managing the area well can take care of the job. That is really it for the grasslands. Most of our grasslands in America, 95% of them are actually just used for farming now. So we don't have that many left. When we talk about managing what we do have, most of it comes to these rangelands that we need to, at this point, try and protect the best we can. Come back, see me next time when we look at sustaining the terrestrial biodiversity and our ecosystem services. Take care, guys.